Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back into the number one podcast of people who listen to this podcast. We are here today in full force. It is CTT, Chubby Tackle Talk. The boys are back. We are together, and let's start tackling some stuff today. Coming in live, fresh from the lake, shockingly without a sunburn, you got the G. G, what's happening with you today, brother?
Dun, 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 dun. Boys are back in town. Good to be here.
Well,
Good to be here.
guess he had a good time on the boat.
He had something. He had a good time on the boat, and apparently he's got something good going on in that coffee cup. Coffee cup,
You're welcome
right
to have
there.
it. Yeah.
JT, all the way out west. What's happening, my friend, with you this morning?
Man, I'm feeling extra chubby today, so let's have this topic tackled.
You and me both, boys. I hate to admit it. I stopped on the way in and got me a sausage biscuit. Okay, it's a double sausage biscuit with cheese from the Hardee's, which is the most fattening of all the biscuits. So let's hope I don't kill over in the middle
sausage.
of this. The doubles is so good. And they have a fried egg
I
on
know.
it. Like, oh, it's because you look at it and it's like you can get the regular sausage biscuit, or for like 10 cents more, you can get the double sausage, and you're like, it's just economics at this point.
It really is. It's just
Economics. And the Hardee's biscuit is the best of all the biscuits too. Like and for Carl's Jr. for those of you not from the South, not from the East, Carl's Jr. I don't even know if they do biscuits the same, but there's nothing like the Hardee's biscuit. The Hardee's biscuit is the best of the biscuits. And I'm going to be paying for that one. I'm not going to lie, because I probably took a couple months off my life with that biscuit. Worth it.
Anytime you can get a hold of double sausage, you are in a good situation, Bubba, because that's how you like it.
Absolutely.
Moving on.
Absolutely. So let's jump right into it. And JT, you got the label on today, and I almost think it's become a recurring segment at this point. We're going to start maybe doing a crime report, an NFL crime report, but at this point, we might as well just call it what's happening with the Chiefs. Because another week, another reset of the number of days without arrest in Kansas City, as Kansas City defensive lineman Isaiah Buggs has been arrested and accused of animal cruelty by the Tuscaloosa, Alabama police. And this is kind of an interesting thing happening too, is essentially what he's being accused of is that he's left this house. He's moved to Kansas City. He's got a place out there. The house is empty that he owns. And there were two dogs there locked away without food, without water, without anything. Now, his attorney has released a statement essentially saying not his dogs, that he had a friend that had left them there, that he was allowing to stay there, member of his posse, member of his entourage, who knows what it was. But he had a friend who'd left them there, still his property, still his responsibility. But the question always comes back to at this point, what is going on in Kansas City that all this is happening? It can't just be elevated press, but what is happening in that locker room?
I mean, we've got to go back to what we talked about last week, and it is a culture issue. I mean, you got to go back to the old broken window theory. They've got to get it together because they've got a lot of little things that are adding up to big things, and these big things are going to follow them right into the preseason and right into the season. And Patty Mahomes has got to be looking in the mirror and saying, how much of this do I really want to burden and take on? Or should I just jump ship and go win Super Bowls somewhere else? Because he's not getting any help, any assistance. And I just don't see the office. I just don't see the coaches rallying around and making the changes. And I know they can't do it for the players, but I just go back to culture and leadership. When you've got a little bit more of it, you just see the little things come together. And right now, nothing's coming together for these Chiefs. And look, I'm not completely upset because I think we all hate a dynasty. The Chiefs have gone from that darling team that drafted someone that nobody really believed in to a multiple Super Bowl winner and everybody's sick and tired of. So, we don't really feel that bad for the Chiefs, but we kind of do, because this isn't the way you wanted to see that dynasty blow up. You wanted to see Aaron Rodgers knock him off, or you wanted to see Caleb Williams come out and knock him off.
Yeah, that's the one.
You wanted to see them get knocked down the good old-fashioned way on the football field, not with all this off-season, off-the-field drama. And it's just another week, another Chief gone. Crazy.
Well, and let's be clear, he is innocent until proven guilty, but he has been arrested. He does have a defense, but innocent until proven guilty. but still not a good look for things in Kansas City. G.
Looking like the lawyer. Isaiah Bugs, Bama guy, by the way.
Bama guy, Tuscaloosa.
Contributed well to the university, not contributing well at the higher level. So it's almost like they said, once they leave Saban's cattle pen, then they become a different animal. Anyways, having said that, is the Chiefs are the enemy of their own success. And sooner or later, you quit believing in the team and you believe in the individual, which even at the NFL, or especially at the NFL level, it's more prevalent than anywhere else. And it's just, hey, hit the self-destruct mode, too many off the field issues. It's the media. Again, Taylor Swift has yet destroyed another organization. She's gone beyond the individual, and now it's the organization. And you cannot tell me that does not impact it. I mean, they built their schedule around it. So
how is she going to write the ultimate Chiefs breakup album without some controversy? You got to have it, and the players are providing it. Speaking of ex-Bama players, though, and we're going to come back to the Chiefs because there's something else I want to talk about here. But speaking of ex-Bama players, interesting article I saw this week, by the way, a kind of where are you now? Is former Bama wide receiver, former Los Angeles Raiders wide receiver Henry Ruggs is actually still in jail serving out a sentence, but has been assigned to landscape duty and is working at the landscape and helping clean the grounds of the Nevada governor's mansion. So he has gone from Tuscaloosa to Las Vegas and is now cleaning the grounds and doing the gardening of the Nevada governor's mansion. And all I can think of is that great line from Happy Gilmore. Well, your finger hurts. I guess you pulled landscape duty then. Now your back's going to hurt.
see the name tag? You're in my world now.
In my world now.
Look, this is a tough situation to talk about. I mean, again,
it's not. He shouldn't have been. He shouldn't have done it.
To the family, and he shouldn't have done it. He should not have done it. And the family of the individual, they're the real ones hurting. But the potential that could have been, and Bama or not anywhere, like the guy would have been a total stud. And then going back to the Chiefs, you got another guy that's going down the same path, Rashee Rice. I mean, come on, guys, put it together. You've got everything that you could have ever imagined. All your dreams come true. Just keep it in between the lines. Don't do 180 miles an hour or whatever you're doing.
After you've been drinking.
Drinking.
This is going to sound so lame, but I haven't understood why NFL teams, or maybe the NFL as a whole, doesn't do more to have these player concierge. I mean, it's not like these are small paid guys. I mean, in the business world, you have apprentices and you have these assistants and you have all the support system around you. When you're a high profile person and when you're making millions of dollars, that makes you a high profile person. Why not put the proper support around them? Why not? Why have we not learned this and just forced it and made it part of the program? It just
the Chiefs won't even give them a right locker room. Yeah. So I mean, but you're not. If you're a player, though, also, and one of the things that I think is interesting, I heard about Caleb Williams is he has a team around him. He's got his manager, his accountant, his throwing coach, his nutritionist. Tom Brady had that. Some of the greatest quarterbacks and the guys, and these guys are getting paid millions and millions of dollars. And I think also that it's a culture thing. It's you're paying your boys to hang out with you. Pay them to actually do something beneficial to you. Pay them to benefit you. Don't just pay them to hang out. Don't just invest in their businesses. Make sure that they're your sober driver. Make sure that they're taking care of your nutrition, picking up your meals, doing whatever, earning that fee. And I think that's right. But going back to talk about the Chiefs and something that you said, something I just said, the Chiefs' main difference is as crazy as the culture is off the field and how poor the culture is off the field, it may have the best on-field culture. They don't have the right locker rooms. They're not taking care of their players. They ranked very poorly. However, on the field, the coaching staff, Andy Reid and his staff, has continued to impress. And one thing that stuck out the most to me in the Super Bowl, I don't know if y'all seen that video, is after the coin toss going into overtime. The Chiefs knew what they were doing. They had gone through the scenarios. They talked about the scenarios. Every single player knew what they were going to do with that coin flip. And when the 49ers said, we're taking the ball first, the Chiefs couldn't believe it. They looked like Ryan Poles when Atlanta drafted Michael Penix. They could not believe that they were taking the ball first because they had already gamed it out and said, we want the ball second so we can go for two and win this thing out. And another example of that has come out this week as they're talking about the new kickoff rules. The new kickoff rules, according to the Chiefs are thinking about having Justin Reed or Louis Rees-Zammit kick off for them instead of Harrison Buckner because they noticed in the XFL that had similar rules that the kicker was involved in 25 to 40% of the tackles. So nearly half the tackles, the kicker was involved. And I think that's something to watch out on. You have the Chiefs are scheming this in. We've talked about the Steelers thinking about Justin Fields returning the kicks. There's going to be a lot better blocking here. And so it's interesting as we go into this new kickoff rule and this new aspect as how teams are scheming into it in the Chiefs culture as they're looking at not having their main kickoff guy, Harrison Buckner, who I have heard is not going to be mic'd up this year. But they've made sure that they're going to have a different kicker coming in and kicking the ball so that he can defend better. And maybe you're going to have a shorter kickoff, but you're going to be able to make those tackles a lot cleaner.
Well, I thought it was because he found more purpose in the catering kitchen. Was that not why they're doing this?
Apparently.
Listen, guys, listen. I know you both are soccer fans. We're talking about a kicker. Who cares? To me, I don't understand why social media is even, first off, concerned about what a kicker said. I don't care what he said. He's a kicker. At any point in any part of American football, which is real football, do we ever care what a kicker does? They're not even really part of the team. They don't practice with the team. They don't. I know they can win games, right? They don't win games. They make the final kick. Hey, they're not football.
Who's the highest paid sports podcaster, TV show guy out there? A kicker. A kicker.
And also a kicker will haunt you.
I didn't say they couldn't make a brand for themselves post football, but come on, really? Get over it, man.
How many Patriots titles are there without Vinatieri?
It doesn't matter. While I'm at it, you know what? Michigan fans eat it. There's no context in that. Just eat it. I've read the comments.
No, this is a true Bama fan. Y'all have only had one kicker in the last 3 decades. This is where your hate comes out for these kickers. Man,
I don't know.
When we finally do have a kicker, the run of national championships has diminished and dried up. So you don't need a kicker. That's where I'm at.
Real bias right here.
It is. And, eat it, Michigan fans. Eat it.
Go Big Blue.
She says,
tears.
Who cares about what the kicker thinks? But as long as he can make a tackle, and Bama fans know about kickers not being able to make a tackle too.
Look, we're going to be sitting here in like November, December. G's team and fantasy is going to be like crumbling around, and all he's going to be able to hold on to is this kicker. He's going to be holding on to this kicker to win him a game to make the playoffs, and he's going to be cussing those kickers again because he didn't go with the Butker. He went with just some kicker from probably like San Diego that's not even a team anymore, and he says they don't matter, and he loses the match and he's out, and this rant starts all over again. So respect the kicker, G. Respect the kicker.
Make me do it. Can't make me do it.
So anyway, you're not going to have to worry about it watching Kansas City games then, since Harrison Buckner is not going to be doing kickoffs, and the Chiefs are looking to take advantage of this new rule.
So Bubs, what do you think is going to really happen with this? I mean, I can't cut through the real from the fake on this. I mean, I know this whole thing's meant to maybe make a little bit more plays and see a little bit more runs, but I mean, is this all just fodder? Is this all them just kind of rallying against the fact that the NFL's making another change? Or do you think there's going to be fundamental changes to special teams at this point?
I think there's fundamental changes. And that's the thing is in an aspect like this, in the NFL, in any professional sport, you're looking for something to give you just a 0.1% edge, a 1% edge in any way that you can. The water temperature, the type of Gatorade that you're drinking, the culture, whatever it is. And so this is an aspect. Years and years ago, there were not special teams coaches, and now some of the best coaches in the leagues will attribute their success to special teams. As the old football coaches say, there are 3 games: there's offense, defense, and special teams. All we have to do is win 2 out of the 3 of them. And so in this particular case, I think it's another example, another availability to make some plays. I think we're going to start seeing more gimmick plays coming out of the kickoff. Some reverses, some other things where there's actual blocking schemes as opposed to the old tradition of, well, we're going to run it back and we're either going to go left or right or middle, and then we're just going to try to knock each other down or whatever. I think because they're lining up so close, you're going to see blocking schemes and actual plays coming out of this. And it's just going to advance from this year. This year, somebody's going to try something new. They're going to do something a little different. Then the league's going to start copying it. And pretty soon, I think special teams and kickoffs are going to be just as special as any other play.
Well, we talked about other sports that can translate into football. This may be that chance that those rugby players actually get. You talk about somebody that can kick a ball and tackle. I mean, that's what rugby does really well. It'll be interesting to see if you do see some teams looking across the pond and saying, hey, you may not cut it in the starting 11 on offense, but we need you on special teams because the kickers of day of old are not the kickers we need today. This could be where you see that really start to translate.
Well, and of course, as we're going into it, we're going to see the first glimpse of that coming up in the preseason and on what may be the greatest show on all the television, especially this year, Hard Knocks, which I know, guys, we all love this show. We've all been following it for almost 10 years now, and it feels crazy. I don't know about y'all. I have a favorite season until now. I definitely think I'm going to have a new favorite season because my Chicago Bears have officially been announced as the team for Hard Knocks. Up until now, I mean, is there any season of Hard Knocks better than the Jets with Rex Ryan? Like, that's got to be the greatest season up until now. But I'm super excited. You got a new quarterback. You got some veteran presence. You got a team on the rise coming in on Hard Knocks. It's the first glimpse ever into the inner workings of the Chicago Bears, the new attitude there. I'm excited about it, but of course I am. Guys, what do y'all think? Let's start off with you, Graham. What do you think about it?
I'm excited for you. I mean, you mentioned something about Caleb Williams having the whole team around him. The problem is that it's the whole scout team defense because he's apparently thrown 7 straight interceptions during OTAs and got benched for that. So I'm excited to know as a Bears fans that your heart is going to be broken in the preseason and you have a full documentary to document your hopes crashing before the season even starts. So I'm excited for that. And, I just look, I go back to Lincoln Riley QBs, and I think you guys got a good one. Yeah, you got a good one that is going to get your
a good solid
your
Lincoln
hearts and your daubers up, and then
Listen,
you got a documentary to crash it down.
no,
And
nobody loves the Bears like a Bears fan, and nobody hates the Bears like a Bears fan. I can promise you that. So it's going to be interesting, but you may be right. Like that's the Lincoln Riley QB is a real thing. It is a real concern about how they translate to the next level, and I think that even comes from Mike Leach quarterbacks. Mike Leach quarterbacks, of course. Lincoln Riley was under Mike Leach and is under that coaching tree, and I think even the Mike Leach quarterbacks translate to that. So there's a real concern here about it. But JT, man, you're the big Vikings fan. What are you thinking about the division rivals coming in and getting on the show?
I think this is brilliant by the NFL because there's been so much doubt out there around Caleb Williams. What's he going to do? How's he going to be? They're going to test it right out the gate. Can he be the next face of the NFL? Is he coming up the shadows of Patty Mahomes? Is he who we can go all in on, or is he going to fall flat on his face? And why wait a couple of years? Let's find out right out the gate, right out the rookie year. Let's see if the fans rally behind this guy, if he can get that energy, if he can get that respect, or let's see if he falls flat. And I'm on the fence. I'm not as hard against Caleb Williams as what G is. I'm not as high on Caleb Williams as what you are. I'm still in a wait and see mode. I think that what Ron Poles has done with the Bears is absolutely amazing. He has put amazing players on both sides of the ball, but it all hinges on Caleb Williams. It all hinges on, does he come out and become that star that we saw that 1 year in college, or is he going to be that person we saw crying in the stands each week? And so it's going to be great to see. I think the NFL hit a home run on this because there's not a team that has more buzz. But I think it go high or low on this. I don't know that it really hits in the middle. So you may burn your face of the future right in the first few months of the season.
I think that's an interesting point is as we're talking about superstar quarterbacks, the Aaron Rodgers, the Patrick Mahomes, as we're talking about that and becoming the face of the NFL, becoming the most notable player, none of these guys have been tracked, have been documented, have really been filmed since their first practice, since their freshman season, their rookie season, if you will. Aaron Rodgers, of course, sat on the bench under Favre for a long time. And Manning was never documented this way. Nobody knew who Tom Brady was his rookie season. And so I think it's an interesting thing to be able to document. Is he really going to take that next step? Where's it going to come from? But being able to have that throughout the way, and especially doing this, at least for the preseason, I think is going to be super interesting. And I think you're right. I think the NFL was lucky that the Bears fall under that mandatory rule, because if not, there's no way that they would have volunteered for that. So the NFL made a smart play the same way they did last year with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. It's all about the TV ratings now. And it's all about the money, the TV ratings, and I mean, quite frankly, I'm with you. I don't know, other than maybe the Falcons, just because everyone is so intrigued by that quarterback room, what a better team to pick for the Hard Knocks is. I don't know. Do y'all have any ideas of what a better team would be, or a more intriguing team than the Bears right now?
No. I mean,
See, there you go.
and nobody cares about the Falcons. I mean, they made Penix and made headlines that we've all forgotten already. Nobody cares about the Falcons. They're the Falcons. They're the NFC South. Who cares?
And you can't have Rodgers again, right? Well, speaking of, though, there's a great announcement that came out yesterday to kind of complement this, and on the other side is college football fans are going to get the same opportunity now, as it was announced yesterday that Netflix is closing in on a deal with the SEC, aka the only conference that matters, the SEC, to do an immersive documentary similar to Drive to Survive or Full Swing, which is a little bit different than Hard Knocks, but to go ahead and do a full documentary on SEC with the players, with everybody, the coaches, and everything else. And guys, I can't think of a football fan in the South that is not over the moon about this news. And Gio, as a resident college football expert, what are you thinking about it?
Oh man, so there's a lot in the news right now, and it all happened in the same week. Um, I'm not. I get it. I understand it. I do not like what is happening with college sports and the tradition and the belief that the just complete being an amateur, and it's not. It may even get bigger than the NFL at the rate it's going with everything. And I know we're going to get into all of that, so we'll talk Netflix. It will be entertaining. It will be great. It will be fun to see inside the locker room. And to be honest with you, I don't know. I asked myself, is it going to be different than the ESPN documentaries that happen along? You got the season, you got the SEC network. Netflix just provides a whole new, just raw cut and underbelly of what's going on. So it may expose a lot of things that we as fans may not want to see. How much of a distraction is it going to be? But it's not going to be any bigger of a distraction than all these other things going on that we're talking about. So part of me is like, it's happening anyways, just let it keep going. But for the big picture, I don't like where it's headed at all.
There's a part of me that wonders if the coach in the SEC, we've kind of been back into this whole NIL deal, and it's eroding sports. I hope we all can agree. We knew that there needed to be something, but it's going so extreme that it is eroding not only college sports, but sports in general, in my opinion. And I wonder if the brass doesn't say, hey, this gives us a chance to really highlight what we're talking about, because they think we're just beating up on kids that aren't making any money. That's not what we're talking about. We need them to see how this is actually eroding the fabric behind the scenes. Could be a great chance to expose that. It may go a completely different direction, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if what the main takeaways on this is some major policy changes to the NIL.
Well, y'all talk about the kids, though, and the issue is not the kids, it's the colleges. And for the most part, these are public institutions. I think other than Vanderbilt, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong on this, other than Vanderbilt, every college is a public institution that is in the SEC. Well, let's stay with the SEC right now before we expand out, just because I think it's a good microcosm. It's a good study of the rest of college football, and there's much more going on out there. But in the SEC alone, I think the only private college is Vanderbilt. So that means that all the rest of these schools are public institutions. They're institutions that are making money, that are endowed by the states, that are getting public funds from the state for their students to go there. They're getting private funds on top of that, plus their endowment, plus their donations and everything. And the problem is colleges have not become about education. Universities are not necessarily about education. They're about business and about paying for everything else. And these football programs are the cash cows that continue to move them through the system here. Do the players deserve a cut of that? Absolutely, but it undercuts everything else that's going on. If the colleges are making money off of it, then the players should make money off of it. That's certainly a fair aspect. but we are creating now what is becoming a semi-professional league, almost similar to the soccer academies, where it doesn't matter what school you go. I don't know that many of these guys have the loyalty to their schools anymore. Back in the day, and I'm not even talking that long ago. Well, I am talking about the 90s and the early 2000s, which is 20 years ago. But back in the day, you were proud to walk out of your school, whether you had a 12 and 0 record or an 0 and 12, and say, I played football here. I played football at Georgia. I played football at Alabama. I played football at Georgia Tech, at Vanderbilt, wherever you went. Nowadays, all guys are loyal to is the money in the rings. And I hate to tell you, that's a problem because it's no longer about the education. It's no longer about the institution. It's about who pays you and who gets you to the next level. And unfortunately, some of that goes back to Nick Saban because Nick Saban, in his wonderful run of national championships, well deserved, by the way, because he coached, but his pitch to every single player, I put more guys in the NFL than anybody else. Nowadays, coaches have found the only way to undercut that, which is I will pay you more money now than anywhere else, where you could actually make more money playing for me than you could in the NFL. And that was something that was a little buried in the NFL draft this year. There was an argument that Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr., a couple of other guys, probably could have made more money staying in college football, maybe doing another year than they could coming out to the NFL with the league salaries as set by the draft. So it's interesting because the commercialization of college football is being put through these universities and is being driven by TV money. And the athletes just deserve to receive their fair cut of it. I mean, look, the other news that came out this week about the SEC is the SEC is considering forcing their schools to publish injury reports similar to the NFL, which benefits only one group and one group only, and that's sports bettors. So as the country evolves to be created around sports betting as well as TV money, we're getting into a real danger here.
Yeah, that is crazy to think about that college football and college standards are now being influenced by the DraftKings and the BetMGMs. I mean,
100%.
I mean, in states that you can't even gamble. I mean, in Alabama, you still can't even use most of those apps.
Well, actually, Alabama is, you can do DraftKings. You can't actually physically bet, but Alabama is actually known as one of the highest illegal betting states in the country. So,
keyword there, illegal.
Illegal. That's a different topic for a different day. I mean, so all right, look, you've opened up Pandora's box here with me on this because I'm very passionate about it and I don't like where it's headed. So there's another thing. NCAA announced that the schools can now pay athletes, right? And so they're working through what that looks like. SEC just got together, and to me, like the impacts that you don't even think, that now eliminates a walk-on, right? So think about the college dream and all these dreams of high school players that, believe it or not, Baker Mayfield, Heisman Trophy, walk-on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So walk-ons. Completely eliminate that because you can't pay them now. SEC says they're going to stand against it. We'll see what happens. These things that the kids think that are great for them monetarily, one, they're not mature enough to handle that amount of money. Now the pressure that's there is just beyond fans being mad and tradition. It's actually a business. And if you're not performing, these guys don't know how to handle all of that stuff. So the other part of that is the coaches that instill the values of teamwork, working together, all these things that make somebody a better human being and in life. Those coaches are getting out on all levels, on all sports. And it's now become about what can I do for you, right? And how can I make you rich? And so now we've talked about private equity firms getting involved. Okay.
Crazy.
And not that I'm not naive that American money is just as dirty as Saudi money or any of that. You know, let's talk Live Golf, PGA. It's all washed in probably human trafficking and all the bad things that you know, we can't see. But so now let's just say you get a Saudi-backed University of Michigan football team or a University of Alabama football team. I mean, now we just scratched in the surface of all the things that could go wrong. And for these kids, which are young and still need to be innocent and don't know what they're doing, I mean, now you're just opening up this whole level of darkness into this game that we love so much. And it's, I don't know, man. I am really, really scared to see what the next 5 to 10 years of the landscape of college athletics, because the NCAA is a joke. a total joke. They have no control.
And probably going away soon. I mean,
It is. Yeah.
It's the path. Yeah.
And that's the scary part is not the NCAA has lost all control here. The conferences, especially the Power Five, and really, you almost want to say, especially just the SEC and the Big Ten. I think at this point, just those two conferences,
two super conferences,
the two super conferences, and you can see by Florida State and Clemson trying to flee the ACC as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
but the two power, they can make their own rules. They can absolutely make their own rules. And if you had two championship games on the same day instead of a national championship, if the SEC pulls out of the BCS and instead of being in the BCS, you've got just the SEC championship game facing off against the BCS national championship game, which is probably going to be the Big Ten versus ACC or something. I don't know. Like, I don't know that the SEC championship game by itself doesn't draw higher ratings, or at least the same rating at that point. And that to me is crazy, that the power that these conferences have created and that they have. It's a different game, but the problem is, I don't know how to stop this. I don't really see a way to stop it because, as you said, the money involved, the money that is happening and the money that is getting involved. The only thing that I can think of is like I said, this public-private mixture. But there's not going to be a politician elected in any state, Georgia, Alabama, to any SEC state. There's not going to be a politician that says, no, wait a minute, guys, I think we should restrict investment in our university because that guy's going to get voted right out of office if that happens.
Florida tried that already, remember? They had to walk all that back.
Yeah. Do you know the quickest bill that has ever been passed through the Alabama legislature? The fastest bill that has ever been passed was at one point they passed a bill putting regulations on NIL to let Alabama have NIL. And then when the NCAA came out with a less stringent bill, the quickest bill that has ever been passed was the bill revoking the previous bill to allow Alabama to spend more money on NIL. That's a true story.
Look, you hit the nail on the head, is that there's going to be two power conferences. It's going to be the SEC and the Big Ten. And that's where the change is going to have to start. Those two commissioners are going to have to get across the table from each other and say, we've got to be reasonable. We've got the big programs and we're just going to make this happen. And if the little programs want to spin crazy, that's fine. But we've got to come to terms and we've got to bring this back to the status that it's intended to be. Look, it's like so many things in life. It's the extremes that kill us. And we want players to be compensated. We want players to have some, but this is still an amateur sport. This is still a sport with a hope and a dream. And G, to your point, where that walk-on can become the star that can win the trophies and make their dream come true in the NFL. If the NFL is no longer the dream, then what is the point? Why even have the colleges involved? Let's just go to a club league like they do in soccer and other sports. There's absolutely no point in having educational institutions lead the charge. It completely loses its value.
What do you think the transfer fee would have been for Caleb Williams this year? What do you think the transfer fee would have been for Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Then we wouldn't debate it because this is not tied to a public institution that's there for the education of our future workforce. Like, we're forgetting that sports are not what college is about.
Well, and Bubba made a great point, right? So the institutions are now in this great oxymoron where, especially if they go private equity firm backing the organization, et cetera, is if the NCAA is now allowing universities to pay athletes. So now they're employees of the universities. So bring in all the benefits that come with that. So they don't even have to go to class. Not that they do anyways. I mean, that's a broad statement. I know a lot of them do, 90% of them. But again, so now all your hype and your branding and your merchandise goes to your programs and your athletes that don't even have to go to class. So your value as an academic institution, which is what these colleges want to be, completely out the window. Your credibility, your accreditation, completely undercut. It's a great oxymoron that we're in. I mean, it's
crazy. I hate it. And guys, I think honestly, there's more to come out. There's more reading. I think this is honestly going to be a topic we're debating and we're talking about for the next months, if not years, here on this program.
There's one more thing before we cut. Is I don't know if you saw I don't know if it's been approved or if it's nearing finalization that the corporate logos now on the uniforms, right? Like, so NBA, I don't think the NFL does it yet. Maybe they do, but I know the NBA is been doing this for a while now. So now corporate logos on the jerseys,
You
which
mean
can
like advertising, or do you mean like the Under
yep,
Armour or Nike logo? Okay, so like
Um,
actual
yeah.
advertising.
yeah, not the brand that produces the uniform, but
Sure.
actually you being a billboard
Yep.
essentially is what it is. And again, there's tradition that's undercut. It wasn't too long ago that the University of Alabama right down the road had a huge beef with Mercedes Benz because they brought
Yeah.
the logo in, and it was a huge uproar. And then now, okay, so again, Michigan, the Penn States, the Alabama, those that have had the same uniform for the entirety of their just inception of the program, right? Can you imagine just seeing like Chick-fil-A across the University of Alabama? It's not that I hate Chick-fil-A, but come on, man, it's tacky.
Yeah, I hate it. I always buy the soccer kits when they're in between brands
Oh
because
yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
get stuck with one of these awful logos on the front. I can't stand that.
Well, you say that, but let's talk about one of the most likely brandings for your school, JT, which is, I don't know, man. Maybe the Apple logo on the Auburn uniform is going to look pretty good. I mean, it might be pretty sleek and interesting. Chick-fil-A, unfortunately, I think is going to go to the University of Georgia. Although, look, if you want to talk about a jersey, I will go buy. If somebody wants to do a varsity Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets jersey, I'll definitely go get one of those to support both brands. But
I saw something. Tollgate is finally going to get to monetize
On the helmets.
on the helmets. Big
the,
toothpaste.
the crust whiteout game at Penn State. Oh my. Okay, this is gonna get. We're gonna go down a
Columbia
rabbit
Sporting
hole.
Goods. Columbia Sporting
Here comes
Goods.
our next draft for next week.
Oh no, we're gonna go down a rabbit hole on this one. Kind of going back to our improving bowl games. We're gonna go to a rabbit hole on this one. But let's wrap it up. Let's go around the horn, say our goodbyes, and start with what's on your mind that we haven't covered this week. G, you're back from the lake. Let's start with you.
And no final cuts. I'm interested to see the landscape of college football, and this I can honestly say. I'll turn 40 this year. This is the first year that I'm not excited about college football, and I don't know. Maybe things stay the same. I just do not like where it's headed, and that has a lot to do with things, right? Like being a Bama fan. Everybody here knows that. I don't know what the future holds, right? So this may be the time to just take a huge break from all of this stuff and just enjoy my Saturdays in the fall without being stressed out. I doubt that's going to happen, but that's kind of what's on my mind.
Spoken like a true Kellen DeBoer believer, right there.
Well,
Spoken like an Auburn fan.
well, gee, let me give mine a little bit of hope because what are sports about? Sports are about doing something, accomplishing, pushing yourself further, picking yourself up when you get knocked down. So I'm gonna tell a little personal story that I'm excited about this week, a parenting story. My youngest is big into soccer. She competes. She's in the academy league, and last year she got placed on the third team, which was a really hit to her. And I told her, you got two things you can do. You can kind of pout about it, not play great, or you can work twice as hard and earn your spot. And she just finished up tryouts this week for next year's team. We thought she jumped from the third to the second. She jumped from the third to the first team. So we've got a very happy 11-year-old in the house, and she really double backed, worked hard, and that's what sports are about. And so maybe we find our reprieve here in youth sports of saying, hey, if you want to accomplish something, you have to do it through hard work. You have to do it through effort. You have to do it through sweat. And if we're not going to get that maybe as much in the college level anymore, let's look to youth sports because there's still a lot of victories happen out there.
Man, that's great. Man, I can't even top that. I mean, I was going to talk kind of about the love of sports, same, and I love motorsports. I love racing. Kyle Larson failed miserably, unfortunately, due to a lot of rain and weather to pull off the Indy 500 and Coca-Cola 600 double race. That's only been pulled off for a few people. But it goes back to that. Like you love seeing a guy who loves racing so much that he wants to go and drive in a different series and then hop in another car, fly to Charlotte to drive another 600 miles to do a total of 1,100 miles in one day in two different cars. And unfortunately, he didn't get to pull it off. But I mean, isn't that the great thing about sports? We're talking money on everything else. And look, professional athletes are entertainment. They deserve to get paid. They deserve everything that's going with them. Maybe not Jaden Waddle's latest contract, but everybody else. I mean, people deserve it. But you love guys that love the game and love the sport, and they're not just doing it for the money. They're doing it because they truly love what they're doing. It goes back to Michael Jordan and his famous love of the game contract provision that said he could go play pickup basketball whenever he wanted because he loved the game so much. And that's what we need more in today. We need the love of the game. We need people who play the sports because they love it, not because of the money. I love the fact that it offers a better future. I love the fact that it offers a better lifestyle. That people are properly compensated for what they're doing, but at the same time, you got to love people that love the sport and love the game. And so that's what we're going to sign off with this week from guys that love the game, that love talking, that have loved having you join us as we tackle these issues right here on CTT. Thank you so much. Like, subscribe, comment. We're going to start referencing comments. We're going to start going back. We're going to have an entire YouTube video only of G responding to comments from Michigan fans at some point.
In the hundreds.
Personally, I love Michigan fans. Michigan fans are great. They're wonderful. They're some of the smartest individuals out there, and certainly have great taste when it comes to podcast hosts and analysts here. So at some point we're gonna do that. We're gonna start taking comments of the week. So like, subscribe, give us a comment, let us know how we're doing. As always, this is the boys from CTT, and we are out.
Chubby's out.